If you were to draft one player right now, present day in the NBA, that can help you during this playoff run, that doesn't mean you're building a franchise. That doesn't mean next year. That doesn't mean, 5 years down the road. No, it's like this year, this playoff run. Who's the first player that you are drafting when it comes to building a team for this year's playoff run? Kyle Fisher on the clock. Does the NBA use that?
I don't think so. Do they have a different noise?
No, I think they do.
You think the same one?
I think it's the same one.
We'll find out. We'll find out this year.
That's
I'll hold
true.
you to it.
Yeah,
I'll write it down.
That's true. We're paying attention.
I'm just buying time to make my decision here. No, I'd probably go Jokic.
I mean, go Joker.
Yeah, I think that he's so good on both ends. He is a guy who can score at will. He's a guy who great court vision, great IQ. He can stop one of the best players on the defensive end while being your best player on the offensive end. Not that there's other guys who aren't like that, but you get everything at a high level from him. And I just love the fact that he seems to not even like basketball. Like he's the only guy I see in the league who treats it like a job. He's like, oh God, got to do this again. Meanwhile, goes out and effortlessly drops 35 and 12 assists. It's he's probably the guy I'm going with. And we've seen him get to that mountaintop before. You could easily go with a couple other guys. I don't want to take anybody, whoever your pick's going to be, and mention them now, but I'm going Joker.
All right. First of all, when you pull up last year's numbers from the NBA playoffs points per game, do you know who leads the charge last year in 6 games played? 33 points per game. The big man, Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid led playoffs last year for points per game. Everybody included Brunson, Dame, Shea, Maxey, Mitchell, Luka, Joker, Anthony Davis, LeBron, Edwards. 33 points per game in 6 games. And wasn't he hurt? He came back from the injury. It's he was never 100%.
Was the Bell's palsy in the playoffs?
The Bell's palsy.
Yeah, half his face didn't work right, and the dude was dropping 33 a game.
Unbelievable.
And there's still people out there who will not give that guy his flowers, not give him credit, say he's soft or doesn't put himself on the line.
Ever.
The guy has battled through so freaking much.
Yep.
In this city. You knew there was a risk of him going down this road when he got drafted. Big men, built like he is, with feet and knee injuries. It's just a matter of time before something goes wrong, in theory, right? But you thought this might always be a possibility. Is it disappointing that it's gone that way? Of course, especially after suffering to get him in the building in the first place. But man,
it comes down to Ben Simmons for me. Ben Simmons was the reason why the city has never won a championship, or the Sixers never won a championship.
I think not bringing back Jimmy Butler is the reason that they go into Tobias instead of Jimmy. And I'm not a Tobias hater necessarily. Can't blame that guy for accepting the contract offer that was put in front of him.
Ooh, that's a fun one to revisit, because that would change a lot. Now, would Jimmy run his course quickly and eventually get out of here? Would he stayed for a few seasons? I don't know. That's a risk.
I think he'd probably demand a few things. I think one of the reasons he wasn't willing to come back is he didn't like Brett Brown, for all reports say. Yep. I don't know if he's directly ever said that, but I think he wanted a tougher coach. So maybe they changed some things quicker. I think he would have tried to get something out of Ben Simmons mentally. And if they weren't willing to move on from Ben Simmons, then maybe he does run his course quickly if Ben doesn't get a little something, or Jimmy doesn't rub off on him a little bit. But he's the guy. I mean, that year especially, that was the year. I remember a lot of my friends who were more tuned into the NBA than I am saying, I don't know if they ever do it. This was the chance to do it.
I will still hold to my opinion that Ben Simmons, if he was the player that he was supposed to be, if he continued to progress. And I never wanted, again, he was flawed. There's no perfect player out there. But Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, that was the two.
Yeah.
And especially for defensive side of the ball, like the length, you knew what you were getting there. If Ben Simmons continued to progress and eventually had some courage to pull up and shoot the ball, I think that this city would have eventually had a championship. But
I didn't even really care if he shot.
No, that was it.
I mean, he could have slowly developed that. Like, you have to have a jump shot eventually, but be a facilitator, be a defensive stopper. Maybe don't add Al Horford to those two big men already. That's another misstep. We'll talk about it another time. But
the issue is that he was a liability in late game situations too. So he had to shoot. He had to work.
every round of his career, his numbers get worse and worse.
Correct. Yeah.
It's
Again,
startling.
mentally, he lost it, and of course, there's no going back, and we know how that one played out. But it is fun to bring that one up. Anyways, you brought up Jimmy Butler, 9-1 now. The Warriors are with him in the 10 games that he's suited up. That's pretty darn good. They had a big victory last night at MSG that everybody was talking about. Second half comeback by the Warriors, and they are one of the teams that are out there that could potentially knock off the Oklahoma City Thunder for the NBA Finals, represent the West. Now, we were having fun discussion. You went Joker number 1, so you drafted Joker. I'm not here to argue that, but I will say Luka is probably it's 1B. 1A is Joker for me. Luka is 1B. Luka is the number 2 all-time leader in playoff points per game. Just took the Mavs to a finals where he averaged 29, 9.5, and 8. He scored 28 plus in every single conference finals and finals game. Thank you, Mark Henry Jr., for that stat.
That's very impressive.
Yeah,
that's very impressive.
It's pretty damn good. And I would say that we're going to continue to get that type of production from him right now. Now, Joker's obviously producing at a sick rate as well. You get a little of everything, but those numbers are hard to deny. I would lean towards Joker just with the size more than anything than Luka on the outside of the perimeter. Plus defense, we know what he lacks there. That was
the only difference maker for me was the defense.
Really. Correct. Not to say that Joker's all world either, but he is better defensively. So 1-2, are we in agreement there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was the tough decision for me.
Who's third for you?
See, that's where you start getting into questions. I've never been the biggest Giannis fan.
Okay.
I respect him. I know how talented he is. He deserves to be considered one of the greatest players in the league.
Oh yeah.
But it just something about him for me. I've never really put him in that conversation. Oh man, do you say KD just hoping he turns it back one more time? Do you say LeBron because he turned it back already? You're talking about a little bit older guys. I wouldn't go Wemby yet because he hasn't proved he can do it in the postseason. Same with Cat. Tatum, you
haven't even said SGA.
I don't watch enough universal NBA to go to him right away.
All right. He is the MVP this year.
For sure.
He scored I'm aware 50 of that. Points in the last 19 games, 4 times in the last 19 games.
I know of what he's doing. I just haven't watched it enough to be like, oh, that's the guy I want in that moment. But if you tell me that he's the third pick, I can't argue with you. So
I can't get there.
I'm
not going to say that. I honestly probably am with one of your first guy, Giannis.
Yeah. Well, and that's just me having a particular bias towards him. I don't know why I have a bias towards him. Maybe it's that ladder incident with the guy at the Wells Fargo Center the one time. But it's probably Shea, Giannis, LeBron, KD. Well, one of those guys has to be next.
I
know I just took them all from you.
I want us to be realistic and
pick somebody
till we get to LeBron. That's the goal here.
If you're telling me Giannis, I'll throw my bias aside, and I wouldn't argue with him being 3. He's been extremely efficient this year, so
I'm taking Giannis.
Okay, all right. I won't fight you on that.
Giannis is off the board, so we got 3. We're still waiting until we get to LeBron James.
What you just said about Shea might even though I haven't watched him, that might put him right there.
Yeah.
And I'd probably, if we want to say him 4, that's fine. But the other guys I mentioned, I'm taking LeBron before I take KD.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's one guy, I think you said him. There's one guy that I definitely don't believe gets enough credit. And he plays on a very talented team that just won the championship, and it's Tatum. Now the question would be, all right, so SGA's off the board.
I'll defer to you. If you think he's 4, I'll take it. Man. But Tatum was up to, I look at what Tatum proved that he could do in that championship run, and I'd probably go him first. But again, that's me fully admitting that I just haven't watched enough OKC, despite how talented they are.
I am going to say SGA. So we got 4 players off the board. Oh, by the way, all 4 international.
Yeah, how about that? Number
5, is it LeBron? because now it goes Tatum, it goes LeBron, it goes Brunson, who's a hell of a player in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards is in that conversation. Durant's in that conversation. Jaylen Brown is in that conversation. Donovan Mitchell is in that conversation. I love Donovan Mitchell. I'm a huge Donovan Mitchell fan, but I'm taking LeBron above all. I think it goes 5. So if we're drafting, we take the 4 internationals, and then eventually we get to LeBron James, which if I had a drop, he would say, it's about damn time when he won the championship. Yes. So that is interesting, though. At 40 years old.
To think that a 40-year-old man is your 5th draft pick to lead your team in the postseason is pretty incredible.
And if you told me that you wanted to take him 3rd in front of Giannis, I think you can make the argument.
Yeah.
If you wanted to take him over SGA, who's the MVP of the league present day, I think there's an argument, which is just like that's where the crux of the conversation, that's the focus. It needs to be on that this is even something that we're discussing at this point in time of his career. It's insane.
Insanity that this guy is still playing at this level, still could lead any team to the playoffs. What, a couple years ago they were talking about, oh man, like he's barely getting in. Oh, needs the playoff game. Oh, did the in-tournament the in-season tournament just so he could add another title to his resume. Needs all this stuff. Well, look where they are now.
Yep.
Look where they are now, and it's because of him.